Hello, guys. Welcome here to another episode of Out of Turn 4. Man, it was a fun weekend at the Roval. Kind of started out quiet, then things got heated late, and we ended up with a pretty good race. So, we're going to start talking about that, but of course, coming up on the show, we're going to talk the Kaulig racing announcement, and then, of course, we're going to talk a driver returning to full-time competition in the NTT IndyCar Series. We're also going to talk about a new NASCAR Xfinity Series team, and one team in the Truck Series switching to Toyota. And then, of course, we will have our race weekend picks at Las Vegas. That's all coming up here on Out of Turn 4 this week, but we begin with NASCAR at the Roval. And AJ Allmendinger, man, we might as well just rename it the Allmendinger Roval at this point. He has won for the fourth straight year. This race has only been held for 4 years. It is his fifth win of the season, 15th career win. And man, he had to do it. He had to outduel Ty Gibbs, and boy, he gave Ty Gibbs a run for his money at the end. Good race for AJ. Of course, he ran pretty well. And, it just proves even more why it's AJ's house, man. He's just, who can beat him there? And it's his last time running the Roval because he'll be running in the Cup Series next year. He won't have a shot at the Charlotte Roval, unfortunately. So, at least in the Xfinity Series. So he's going to have to try to continue that in the Cup Series next year. So, but congratulations to him. He gets a win, and a crucial win at that. Of course, back-to-back, entering the round of 8, big-time momentum as we go to Vegas and into the Championship 4 eventually. Of course, then we go to the Cup side, and we have to talk about this. So much happened at the end of this race that it's just, I'd be remiss not to talk about it. And of course, it begins with congratulations to Christopher Bell. That's what it begins with. But man, oh man. Christopher Bell avoids elimination by winning at the Roval, and of course he can thank the 4-tire pit stop for that. And man, he was destined to win. Once we got the overtime restart, I'm like, he's gonna win it. There's just no question here. He has to at this point with the fresh tires. Unless he gets dumped, he's got it. So, excuse me. So third career win for Christopher Bell. It's his second of the season. And of course, again, he was going to be eliminated if he didn't win. So it was a good call by his crew chief. But now we got to talk about what happened at the end of that race. And of course, we know Daniel Suarez was probably going to get eliminated. Unfortunately, an issue that was not his fault, power steering. He was a sitting duck. There was just little chance he was going to make it. So, unfortunately, we say goodbye to one of the Trackhouse drivers. But we got to talk about Chase Briscoe. Chase Briscoe muscles his way in at the end, and if you missed the end of the race, Kyle Larson drilled the wall, killed one of the toe links on his car. The team had to replace it in the pits. I believe he lost 4 or 5 laps doing that, and of course stayed under green. They were saying, man, unless we get cautions at the end, it looks like Kyle Larson, those points that he got in the stages, are certainly going to help him advance to the next round. Not so fast, because then we got a caution for a piece of the wall. One of the advertising signs from the wall fell off and onto the racing surface, of course bringing out our third yellow of the day, the only one that wasn't a stage caution to my knowledge. And then of course they re-racked him up with, I believe, less than 5 to go, and chaos broke out, as you would expect. 5 wide into what was, I don't know what they call it now, but I still call it heartburn turn because that's exactly what it is. Of course, 5 wide, a lot of wrecks, then Chase gets dumped in the infield, then, like I said, someone I think stalled out in the grass, so that led to overtime. Now Chase Briscoe, who got shuffled back. I don't remember. I was saying to my friends he needs to pit. It would be the smartest decision here. Pit, get 4 tires. Oh, one of the curbings broke. That's what it was. Well, so something on the curb broke. They had to red flag it to fix it. And of course, NASCAR overtime begins. And Chase Briscoe just finds the holes. Final lap, he had to get around Austin Dillon. He had the tiebreaker on Kyle Larson. Keep in mind, Kyle Larson's still 5 laps down, not really able to do anything in terms of, saving himself. So he was pretty much a sitting duck. And then, Briscoe needed to get by the 43, I think, to have the tiebreaker on Kyle Larson in points, or to be tied with him. He had the tiebreaker on Kyle Larson in points. That's when Cole Custer just jams the brakes. And, Cole Custer jams the brakes. He holds up both the 3 and the 43, allowing Briscoe to get by, and Briscoe advances into the round of 12, or round of 8 rather. Kyle Larson will be joining Daniel Suarez and Alex Bowman, as well as Austin Cindric, as the ones to fail to advance. As expected there, all I can say is this was a shocker. I did not expect. Here's the thing. In my predictions, I had Kyle Larson going out in the round of 8. Because Kyle Larson just hasn't had a great year to me. He's, it's been very clear, last year how it was Kyle Larson dominant. No one in the Hendrick stable could keep up with him. This year it's Chase Elliott, and just no one can keep up with Chase in that stable. And, it's unfortunate, but I think, this is certainly a learning lesson. Kyle Larson could easily blame Cole Custer for the reason he didn't advance, but he took the blame for himself. He said, we didn't deserve to advance. We didn't do well this season. So I'm glad he's taking accountability. Now, I've had this discussion on this show, I believe, and on SCN when SCN was a thing. And I had said then, listen, team orders, they're a part of racing. They're a part of racing. There's really nothing you can do in terms of that. And now NASCAR has released a statement saying that they are going to review it. It will not change the round of 8. So the round of 8 is solidified. They are not adding Kyle Larson in, which I think would be a huge mistake to begin with. I look back at the year Jeff Gordon got added because of the Michael Waltrip situation. Now that, on the other hand, there's a difference between rigging it and then team orders. To me, this was clean team orders. I think you're allowed to block. You're not allowed to spin out. That's all I'm going to say. To me, I think you should be allowed to block for a teammate. Again, but the second you spin out intentionally to cause a caution, that's where I draw a line. So I don't see anything wrong with what Cole Custer did, if it was indeed blocking. And I feel like you just can't penalize that. Because also in Chase haters brought up this, and I am a Chase fan, but I do agree with this. If you do penalize Cole Custer for blocking, then you need to do the same for Chase. You need to address Chase Elliott for blocking Kevin Harvick at Bristol to allow Kyle Larson to win. So, again, there's there's a difference there because Chase was trying to stay, I think, 1 lap down or on the lead lap. While this was a lead lap battle, I get it, but at the same time, it's the same thing. You're helping a teammate. So, again, I just don't think anything should come from this review. In terms of Kyle Larson, telling you, man, as a Chase Elliott fan, and I try to stay realistic. I'll admit sometimes I might be a little bit biased, but I will say this. And also, I am a Ross fan, so don't get confused, but stay with me here. You know, the Hendrick fan base is just so toxic. That's what I was going to go with. The Hendrick fan base, HMS's fan base, is just the most toxic in the world. Oh my goodness. You would think that Kyle Larson, or you would think that William Byron committed murder for getting his appeal overturned, getting the 25 points back. They're blaming him for the 25-point swing that costed Larson the playoffs. No, what costed Larson the playoff? First off, William Byron should have never gotten a points penalty for what happened at Texas. Texas, I'm sorry. He should have never gotten a points penalty for that. And I'm sorry, I'm going to continuously deny that should have happened. He should have gotten a bigger fine. Yeah, he should have gotten $100K in the first place for what he did to Denny Hamlin under the caution. But no points penalty. It shouldn't have been points related. Leave the points out of it. Unless he, illegally modified a part, there shouldn't be a points penalty for it. I think the fine says enough. So don't be blaming him for that. Then I've seen, Chase fans saying this is payback. Payback for what? If anything, it's karma. And, and then I think the final, I don't know. I got no comment on that. I mean, yeah, Kyle did have one coming to him, but, not this, Chase didn't do it. Leave Chase out of this. Then the final thing I saw, and I had to laugh at, man, if this was Gen 6, Kyle Larson would have been fine. It's the new car. The new car made Kyle Larson miss the playoffs. No. Let me tell you something now. If Kyle Larson broke a toe link with the old car, or if he smacked the wall as hard as he did with the old car, he would have been behind the wall out of the race. And he would have exploded the tire on impact, and he definitely would have destroyed the whole side of that car to the point where I think even the damage clock wouldn't have saved him. So, he would have DNF'd and missed the playoffs regardless on that. So, unfortunate that the defending champ, I believe he's the first, him and Kyle Busch are the only round of 12 eliminations that were, because Kyle Busch, the year he won the 2018 championship, the next year he was eliminated in the round of 12 at the Roval. And Kyle Larson now does the exact same thing. I believe they are the only two in their championship defense seasons to go out in the round of 12. So, unfortunate, and tough break for Cindric. I thought for sure if he pitted, I wanted him to pit. I get he needed the track position, but I wanted him to pit there to get the fresh tires because I felt like him with fresh tires could be dangerous. But that didn't happen. Suarez, again, just circumstances out of his control. And then Bowman, of course, still out with the concussion. So we kind of knew he was out before the race even started. Here we go. On to the news, though. Let's not waste much more time on this. Kaulig Racing, of course, we discussed it at the end of the last episode, but now it is official. AJ Allmendinger will return to the NASCAR Cup Series, driving the number 16 for the team, with Justin Haley in the number 31, I should have added. And then, of course, Chandler Smith was officially confirmed to go to Xfinity in the number 16. Now, on Wednesday, at their big 5K, open house thing, by the way, that looked pretty fun. I wish I lived in the North Carolina area just to go to that. But they confirmed as well that Landon Castle will be back in the number 10 for next season, which I think is good. I was worried. I didn't think he'd be back, but I'm glad he is because I feel like he had honestly a career year minus missing the playoffs. And I feel like he's got a lot to build on. He can definitely win races if he keeps working on what he's doing there. And then, of course, they announced on Wednesday, well, we're still a little ways from getting Daniel Hemrick back. We need to secure, sponsorship still. We're still working on that aspect. So they kind of left it on to be determined. Then Saturday, they announced that they had a press conference on Sunday morning at the Charlotte Roval. And Sunday morning, Daniel Hemrick was confirmed to return to the NASCAR Xfinity Series. So, again, AJ and Justin will be running the Cup Series. Then, of course, Landon Castle, Daniel Hemrick, and newcomer Chandler Smith will be going to the NASCAR Xfinity Series. Good for Kaulig Racing. They secured both their Xfinity drivers in the Xfinity stable. And then, of course, adding a young talent in Chandler Smith. I think that's going to be beneficial for them, and I think it's good for Chandler Smith's career. And of course, he kind of mentioned it, that he took a lot of time to think about this. Of course, he's been a part of TRD for years, and man, another big loss for Joe Gibbs Racing and Toyota, and you gotta love it because it's just showing how weak or how difficult it is to get to the top with Kaulig Racing, and with Toyota. It's much more easier to get to the top with Chevy, than that. But we're going to talk about Ford in a minute, so stay tuned. But we do have to go on to this IndyCar bit of news, and I am so excited to announce this. I did not think this was going to happen when I saw the rumors earlier in the year. Of course, this was a rumor mid-season that this was going to happen. And I'm like, I want it, but I just don't know. And, especially with, because I did talk to someone at Sam Hunt Racing and how they want Santino back in some capacity the rest of this year. They like him there. I thought for sure it was going to be a done deal. He's going to run maybe the Indy 500 and then much more NASCAR races. But no, it turned out that Santino Ferrucci is back in the NTT IndyCar Series full-time, nonetheless, driving that number 14 for AJ Foyt Racing in 2023. I am so happy he is back in the IndyCar Series. I actually said I got to get tickets to Mid-Ohio now. But I love Santino. He's, a talented young driver. He always outperforms his equipment. I wish it was with Rahal, Letterman, Lanigan, because personally I know he's a better driver than Jack Harvey. But, I'm just glad to see him full-time back in the IndyCar paddock. And I certainly hope he can make the most of this opportunity. He can definitely help AJ Foyt rebuild. And to those saying, it's AJ Foyt, they're just not that good. You're right. You're right. Okay, but look at what Kyle Kirkwood did last year, and I think it shows that this team has promise and they have potential. So I feel like AJ Foyt has the potential to be a good team, and it's there, but they've still got a lot of work to do on the mechanical aspects, because a lot of the failures were mechanical for Kyle Kirkwood, or mechanical issues that costed him a good finish. So, I will be interested to see how Ferrucci goes through the season in 2023, if they can correct on those issues. And, of course, he'll be joining Peterson in the paddock. It looks like Dalton Kellett is the odd man out, which I'm glad about because he really wasn't that good. He was as bad as Matthias Laced, if you can believe that. NASCAR Xfinity Series news. First off, Hailie Deegan making her Xfinity debut in a few races, so good. Or I believe it's this weekend she's making her Xfinity debut, so can't wait to see that. But this is the news we want to talk about. AM Racing, the team that fields Austin Wayne South in the in the Craftsman Truck Series, they will be moving to the NASCAR Xfinity Series in 2023, and of course they will also add the ARCA Menard Series next season to their schedule. Austin Wayne Self has been confirmed to drive multiple races for the team in the NASCAR Xfinity Series, while on the other hand, they will field a bunch of other drivers to get through the Xfinity season. So I think this is good. The only problem is it's another Chevy team, and we need more Ford teams in the Xfinity Series. Chevy makes up like 90% of the NASCAR Xfinity Series right now. So that's my issue. I'd certainly like to see it balanced out. I'm sure they're going to be working with Jordan Anderson Racing, so but good to see another team come in. Just unfortunate that I think it's another Chevy team, which again the series does not need right now. I'm shocked Chevy doesn't just say, look, we're not supporting another new team. You need to go to Ford or someone else. But hey, I guess they got the support for it. Speaking of support, David Gilliland Racing will no longer be fielding Fords in the Craftsman Truck Series starting in 2023. It was announced that DGR and Toyota have paired for the 2023 season, as KBM, once again, it was announced last month that they will be switching to Chevrolet. So, of course, this is a big loss for Ford. There's no doubt about it. This is a big, big loss for them. Because now the only Ford teams that are left in the lower series are Front Row Motorsports, which is fielding Zane Smith. And then you look at the NASCAR Xfinity Series, Team Penske pulled out last year. So now the only team left in Xfinity, the only top-tier team is Stewart-Haas Racing. And you could argue that RSS Racing is stronger than they are. And RSS has old Team Penske Xfinity cars. So, I just don't like this move, I'm telling you, Again, DGR, I get Ford was not good to them, and now with Toyota, they'll get increased support thanks to KBM no longer being a part of the Toyota camp. But this is just bad. This is a bad loss for Ford, and, they need to find someone to help them in the trucks and Xfinity, because I feel like, Parker Retzlaff should get a full-time ride in a Ford, either in the trucks or in Xfinity next year. Either that, or they should just increase their tech support for RSS Racing. Tell them, stop racing you can run your brother. Kyle Sieg can run a race. He can run full-time, but we need to get our Ford development drivers in the field. It'd be nice to see Hailie Deegan. I imagine she will go to the NASCAR Xfinity Series. Now, keep in mind, this is bad news for her, and I believe the Gray brothers, because the Gray brothers, I believe, are Ford drivers as well. This is good news, though, for Corey Heim and for John Hunter Nemechek, because it guarantees one or both of them will have a ride next year. But I imagine with that, DGR is going to field Corey Heim in the 1. I imagine, I don't know what's going to happen with the other cars. I don't know what's going on with the Grays, Tanner and Taylor, so I don't want to say anything on that. And then we look at the Xfinity Series in 4. I feel like Hailie Deegan's definitely probably out of a truck ride unless Front Row expands to a second car. But she might end up at Stewart-Haas replacing Riley Herbst in the number 98. That's a possibility, because I think Herbst is done. He's just not that good. And then, if not, maybe they buy points from SS Greenlight to field a second car for the team. It'll be interesting to see, honestly. We know, again, with Toyota going to DGR, there's going to have to be a spot for Corey Heim and John Hunter somewhere in the Toyota field, because both of them are Toyota drivers. Now that Chandler Smith has jumped over to Chevy, there's really no concerns there. But again, it'll be interesting to see how this all plays out as we go through the rest of the season. All right, we're on to the picks at long last. And of course, we start with the NASCAR Xfinity Series at Las Vegas. I gotta go Ty Gibbs here. He won earlier this year. He's probably going to do it again. But again, it is that time of the year, and Ty Gibbs, this is for the championship 4 now. And Ty Gibbs has not raced his opponents with much respect. I don't want to guarantee a wreck, but, there's certainly a chance that these guys might pay him back in this round. But I'm going to go with Ty Gibbs here to advance to championship 4. Then for the NASCAR Cup Series at Vegas, boy. Christopher Bell's riding momentum. Denny Hamlin, I feel like Toyota can get it together here. Toyota's been good on the mile and a halfs, but I'm going to have to go Denny Hamlin here. I think, a mile and a half track Toyota's been good at this year. So I think he'll win and advance to championship 4 at Vegas. That's the picks. Thanks for watching. Tune in to No Final Bell this week, and we will see you back here next Tuesday for another edition of Out of Turn 4. Until then, goodbye, everyone.